Their goal is to change the lives of children with disabilities and their families. Today, we are talking about Pattison's Academy. It is more than just a place. It's an educational and rehabilitation hub.
This is Charleston Women Podcast, where you can meet like-minded, strong, independent, professional, and inspiring local women. This is Charleston Women Podcast.
And now we would like to welcome Dr. Laura Ganci, CEO of Pattison's Academy, to the Charleston Women Podcast. Dr. Ganci, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you.
Yes, you guys do incredible things for our community, but for someone listening right now who is not familiar, first of all, what is Pattison's Academy?
So Pattison's Academy is a nonprofit organization that provides comprehensive services to children with complex disabilities and their families here in the Lowcountry. We have sort of 4 sectors of programming, our biggest one being a charter school, a public charter school located in West Ashley. And we serve children right now, 50 children with severe and profound disabilities. And we also have a therapeutic summer camp. We also have an early intervention program that provides in-home services to families with children birth to 3 that are navigating potential issues with developmental delays. And then we also have outpatient therapy services, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and physical therapy.
And a lot of times, I've interviewed Pattison for years and years. You guys are a last resort sometimes for parents. They are so grateful when they find you, and just tell us the difference that it makes in their children's lives when they can get them into Pattison's.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had families that move specifically to Charleston to be able to send their child to school like ours, because the type of care that we provide is very comprehensive, individualized, and holistic. And so we really approach every child like any typically functioning child, just really wrapping around services that they are in need of, and also consolidating services, because families with a child with these kinds of disabilities often have 5 to 10 different specialists in their lives. Oftentimes the average appointments per month for a family is 5 to 20. So it's really an extreme amount of time that these families have to spend taking care of their children. And for us to be able to consolidate that care during the school day, I mean, that allows families to be able to work, to, retain employment and continue with the wages that they need to be able to sustain their family. But not only are we providing those variety of different therapy, medical, and educational services, but we do it with an integrative approach. So it doesn't feel disparate. It doesn't feel separate. I mean, we really are thoughtful about how to provide those services in a way that they're weaved appropriately for each child. And we're really considering the unique needs of each student and their families to support them in a very holistic and profound way.
What do parents say after they find you? After they move here, right? As you referenced, people are moving here specifically for your school.
I've had parents tell me that, it's just made such a profound impact in their lives that for us, we may not see how much our services are really impacting every single family, but for them, it's like their whole world. The ability for them to feel safe and like their child is going to be taken care of. It's something that they hadn't felt in other types of schools. Oftentimes when they're attending a typical school without these kinds of specific care initiatives for their child, they were often being called all the time, every day, to pick up their child because those contexts didn't have the capacity to fully take care of their child. So for them to feel at peace, and also to have spaces in which they don't have to constantly be thinking about the fact that they are a family with a child who has disabilities. There's comfort in that because they walk around, honestly, with a weight on their shoulders. And I've had families tell me this actually just very recently. We had our Thanksgiving luncheon, and it was just such a beautiful time for all of us to be together and enjoy that celebration with our families and their children. We had activities, we had food, and a family member did notice, this is an opportunity for them to just be and not have to think, am I making people uncomfortable? What are people thinking in the community when I'm out with my child? How do I care for my child in a context that isn't suited for them? there was none of that. It was just enjoying purely with family and their child and not having to worry about any of those additional burdens that they have to often think about and take with them day to day.
Podcasting has exploded in popularity, especially local podcasts. As of 2022, 62% of Americans have listened to a podcast. 38% have listened in the last month. 26% in the last week. The podcasting audience is booming with no signs of slowing down. Call the podcast hotline to be featured on these podcasts or to receive information about podcast marketing. Call 843-530-0403 or visit carolinapodcasts.com.
You're listening to the Charleston Women Podcast.
We don't think about the burden that they carry and the worry that they take with them to work every day. So what a relief, that they can send them to Pattison's. You're relatively new to the organization. I know everyone's so excited to have you. Let's dive into your background a little bit. I understand you have a little bit of a unique background before arriving here.
Yes, I actually did a lot of sort of different things, I guess. My educational background is in marriage and family therapy. And so originally I pursued a PhD because I wanted to be a professor. I love teaching and I saw myself being a master's or PhD level professor, which I still do as an adjunct. And I do love teaching. But during my PhD program, I ended up getting a position for the Children's Services Council of Broward County, which is a local government entity, as their director of research, planning, and evaluation. And so I sort of pivoted into research and strategic planning and outcome evaluation, and I fell in love with it. I'm a very data-driven, research-oriented person, and I realized I was a little bit of an oddball in the sense that I'm a clinician, I'm a therapist, and so I have that perspective of clinical practice, but also I'm very motivated by data and research. And oftentimes you're sort of one or the other, but I really hold both views in tandem, and I approach a lot of my work from that perspective. And a lot of what I had been doing in the last 10 years specifically was also really trying to raise awareness and amplify the voices of marginalized communities in Broward County, particularly the Latino community. I'm Latina, and it was important for me. Well, I started to realize via my doctoral research that the experiences of Latinos in terms of accessing therapeutic services or really any sort of social service was difficult. There weren't really a lot of culturally responsive opportunities for them to engage in. And so I kind of made it a mission of mine to do some literature review, really look at best practice and start to train community members on how to provide that culturally responsive care. And when I had the opportunity to interview for this role at Pattison's, I realized that really at my core, I have a passion for advocating for communities that often their voices are marginalized or they're not highlighted, or we as a society don't really think about them. We don't center the experiences of certain communities in our day to day. And that's where my passion lies. And I realized this was an opportunity for me to do the same with this community, with the disability community here, while also engaging with families and just beautiful experiences of the students and clients that we serve. It's just been such an amazing experience so far.
Mm-hmm. I love how you said that, just moving from one type of advocacy to another and taking that passion and that drive and that love of data, right, in both scenarios. Well, first of all, I always think it's interesting. Do you see the job posting? Like, what piqued your interest that you said, I want to apply for this and would like to move to Charleston? What was that big life shift, that big moment that motivated you? Yeah,
that was actually interesting. I was recruited for the role. So I was, but at first I thought, I don't know if I'm the right fit. I thought it was a little bit odd because I actually didn't have experience directly working with this population. I had overseen the Special Needs Advisory Coalition in Broward County, but my clinical experience wasn't serving children with special needs. Mm-hmm. And my background, like I said, is in family therapy. So at first I was sort of weary. I didn't think that I could do it. I didn't know if I was going to be the right fit. And ultimately, I think that they really were looking for someone with that research, data-driven background, strategic planning to sort of take the organization to the next level of growth. And I had lived in Broward County most of my life. I, immigrated there in elementary school from the northern coast of Colombia, where I'm originally from.
Wow. Okay.
And I became very comfortable there. And I just started to feel that I wanted to sort of experience something different, especially after COVID. I think a lot of us went through, sort of thinking through what we want.
What am I doing with my life?
Yeah, that kind of question.
Yeah.
And my husband also was really looking, he's originally from Buffalo, New York, and he was looking to sort of experience something different. So when this came, I think it's easy, particularly for women, to sort of feel like we aren't qualified enough, or I don't have enough experience. I sort of tended to do that to myself sometimes as well, in terms of just having kind of a limiting perspective rather than, no, I can do this. And I really was trying to push myself out of my comfort zone. And so I worked really hard during the interview process. When I came to interview in person and I actually saw the school and met the children and the staff, I knew then that I really wanted this job.
Sold, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, exactly what I've been describing in terms of the fact that these families, these kinds of services are just not readily available anywhere. This is such a unique opportunity for them. And it's so valuable. I wanted to be a part of that.
And on a completely lighter note, I'm sure you were charmed by Charleston, right? Everybody is.
Yes, I really.
And shout out to our beautiful city. I'm sure that helped.
Yes, absolutely. The weather, because I was a little, I'm not used to the cold, but it doesn't get super cold here. But no, it is such a beautiful and unique area. And the city is just, I'm having so much fun exploring it. Yeah. The food, it's just.
I was going to say, eating your way through the city. That's how you start. Everyone starts.
Yes. Yeah. That's been great. I'm definitely having fun in that area for sure.
Well, Charleston certainly is so lucky to have you. What is next for Pattison's? And I'm really intrigued that you said you're very into the data. I imagine that's something you do when you take the new job. You look at the numbers, see what's happening, and you're someone who's going to analyze and tweak and make small changes. Like, what do you see moving forward?
Absolutely. I think data is going to be absolutely crucial for our goals for the next 5 years, which is really to improve our quality of service delivery and also expand our services. And in order to do that, we need data. We need to really be able to demonstrate to the community, to funders, to donors, that our model has this positive impact in a variety of different ways to all of the clients that we serve across our programming. So we've definitely come to refine our data collection methods, and we've created a more rigorous program evaluation and outcome evaluation methodology for us internally. We're going to begin to implement some electronic data collection tools to make things more efficient, both for our clients, but also for our staff. We're going to be hopefully publishing an annual performance report to our website on a yearly basis so that our community can see the impact that we're having for our clients. And we're hoping to be that best practice model that can be replicated and scaled, not only in this area, but across the state and possibly across the country. And we need research and data to back that up. So we're definitely on that path. And again, hopefully we'll be able to use all of that data and information to expand our services. But also one of our biggest goals is to obtain a space or a building that is specifically suited and built for this population. Right now, where we are, we've had to adapt a space that wasn't created with our children in mind. And so we're really looking towards a capital campaign in the next year or so to be able to raise some funding to build our own space that is very much reflective of the needs of our population.
That is so exciting to have big goals to do that. How, as a community, how can we help? I know you guys have talked to you in the past about several fundraisers that you do throughout the year. How can Charleston help? How can we make this happen for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really supporting us in those fundraising efforts. We had an amazing event recently, the Old Village Witches Ride, that raised $20,000, which is a huge impact for an organization like Pattison's. It's really going to allow us to expand our medical services in our school. And we have our end of year campaign launching now. So if anybody is able to sort of raise awareness about our organization and contribute in any way they can, as small or big, it doesn't matter. It has a huge impact for us. Honestly, we're so grateful. Our yearly big fundraising event, Keeping the Pace, is coming up on March 9th. Okay. And so that's going to be a huge opportunity for the community to come out, meet our families, and really see the impact that our services is having, get to know these families and approach them with love and concern and compassion to really help them feel comfortable in this community. So I think it's about supporting Pattisons, but also supporting the families that attend and, take part in the services that we provide.
Right. That brings me to the next question. Why is it so important that everyone else in our community is aware of Pattison's, knows about your children? Why is it so important that our children know about your children? I mean, I think I know what you're going to say, but you can say it much more eloquently than I can as to why Pattison's is such a, milestone marker in our community.
I mentioned earlier that our families have often reflected to me that, they have to find ways to fit into the world that we exist in instead of feeling like the world is adapting towards them. They have this sense that folks are uncomfortable around them. They feel it, that weighs on them. And they are often thinking about how to make others feel comfortable around them instead of just feeling just like they can function in this society around others like all of us do. And so I think it's important for our community as a whole to understand that these are families and children just like anybody else, and they should be treated with the same kind of respect and love and care and concern. I often recently, actually, so when I got this job, I realized a lot of people sort of approach this kind of work with this sense of pity, like sadness towards our families. And that's not what I want. Folks don't want to feel pity. They want to feel genuine curiosity. They want to feel like you're truly interested from a place of actual care about their lived experience and wanting to learn from them and just treating their child like any other child, not being afraid, not feeling tense, not feeling, I don't know how to act, but rather just be curious. You can definitely ask questions to help you understand that this isn't just about feeling sorry or bad. These are wonderful families, wonderful children, amazing, loving, caring, just like anybody else, really thinking about how we need to think through what can we do to make them feel comfortable rather than making them sort of have that burden of how they can accommodate others around them because they know they're feeling something isn't quite right.
Right. And that's such a huge takeaway from everyone listening to this podcast, or if they're watching online with video. It weighs so heavily on me that they already have so much going on. I never thought that they feel that it's their duty to make others feel comfortable, when really it shouldn't be that way at all.
Absolutely.
Like you said, we should be the ones. And it is, I like that you open the doors, that it's okay if we do feel comfortable to ask questions or just treat them, like a normal, for lack of a better word, child,
Right. In their lives, they have experiences just like everyone else. Right. The disability isn't the thing that they sort of focus on day to day. It's a part of them. We all have different parts of us and, different things about our lives that we think about day to day, but it's not the center of their world. It's
not their defining factor, right?
Correct. Exactly. It's not their only story. They have many different wonderful,
so much
detailed stories that you could also engage with them in.
I have before we go, another question that's off topic, but I love asking when I meet women, powerful, amazing women making a change in our world. I always like asking, how do you start your day? Are you an early riser? Do you work out? Do you meditate? I just think it's fascinating. How do you set your tone for your busy day?
So I do wake up early. Also have to start my day pretty early. But yes, I definitely, I have like a very set ritual that I kind of have in my morning so that I know what to expect. And I'm not hopefully kind of having to deal with any surprises in the day. So I wake up probably earlier than anyone else in my home. My kids are still asleep when I leave the home. So I make sure I have everything prepped for them the night before. And I wake up and I usually, listen to a podcast on my way to work. And that helps because traffic here is a little bit tough. But in terms of meditation, I often do that actually right before bed. It kind of helps me set up a nice sort of mindset for when I wake up in the morning, and I try to have everything ready for me to go. So I don't stumble in the morning and I can have, positive. I definitely do focus on, I look at my schedule. How can I take on the day with a positive attitude? Is there anything I need to shift? And I really try to tell myself this is a new day. I try not to think about the day before or the day after, but rather really taking things day by day.
I love it. It's great. Another great takeaway that we can all use today. Dr. Ganci, it's been such a pleasure to meet you. Before we go, just tell our listeners where they can go to find more information on Pattison's Academy and support you.
Absolutely. Definitely log on to our website, pattisonsacademy.org. There's lots of interesting and informative information on there, as well as beautiful photos of our wonderful families in the community that we serve.
Yeah. And say it one more time, the date, I should say, for the event in the spring.
Keeping the Pace, May 9th. And it's going to be a really fun time. It's going to be on our campus. So definitely save the date, May 9th. March 9th. Did I say
March 9th?
March 9th. I'm so sorry.
If you want to raise money May 9th too, you can.
Yes, any time of the year, but March 9th will be our big fundraising event.
Dr. Ganci, thank you so much for joining us today. And this has been the Charleston Women Podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending time with Charleston Women Podcast. Please like us and follow us on whatever platform you're using to access Charleston Women Podcast.